guys, my name is Miranda. This is Staying Salty. That was really over dramatic, but I'm going with it.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.
If you haven't been here before, I am one of 6 CFers on this channel. We all have cystic fibrosis. We're all in different stages of our lives and our illnesses. And every week we have a topic that we discuss. We each have a day that we talk about it. And this week we're talking about hardships in school. If you follow me or you've seen my videos in the past or you just know me, you might know that after 5th grade, from 6th to even college, I was homeschooled. So I'm going to start with my in-schooling life, and then as the video progresses, I'll go further into homeschooling, why I chose it, what hardships lied in both, and so on and so forth. Before I get into the school stuff, there's a few things that I want to address. One, we've been on hiatus for 2 months, and it's been crazy. Tara had a transplant, Larry got married, everyone's been going through all kinds of things. If you follow us on social media, you will know that life has just been crazy and all over the place. I started a clinical trial that a video later in this season I will get into, and I'm just gonna let everyone else talk for their own selves as to what all of the amazing and crazy things has been happening for everyone else over the last 2 months. So be sure to come back every day this week so you can hear what everyone has been up to, as well as their experiences and opinions on school hardships and whatnot. The second thing that I want to address is over the hiatus, we did lose Claire Wineland, and Claire was a huge inspiration to the CF community, to people outside of the CF community. For me personally, I actually started public speaking and making videos because of Claire. So for me, she has made a permanent impact and will continue to, and I know for others she will as well. There have also been a frequent amount of other CFers that we have lost very recently, and my hearts go out to all of their friends and family that may be watching this. So any CFers out there, the bad season of the year has started, so please be careful and take care of yourselves the best you can. I had a third point, I forgot what it was. If it comes back to my brain, I'll talk about it. So for me, school started a few years before kindergarten. I was in preschool for 3, maybe 4 years before. And really all I can remember from that is I met my best friend Kelsey there, and we like to jump on trampolines. I don't remember a good hunk of how CF affected me, because it really didn't affect me as much then. I remember first starting tune-ups and everything regularly in kindergarten, and I remember kindergarten pretty clearly because that's when school started. Regulations really had to be put in place for my health, and that's when I really started growing all of the bugs. That's when I got Pseudomonas, that's when I got Cynotrophomonas, that's when I got just about everything that has been in my lungs. It grew during this really early time in my schooling life. So I believe, and my mom and others also believe, that started because of the air vents that were in the school when I was in kindergarten. And my mom ended up going to the principal, had to really make a case for hey, this is not good. This isn't a healthy environment, not just for my daughter, but for everyone else. And so they ended up eventually getting the air filters changed, which was a huge win. Make sure if you're a parent of a CFer, or if you're just a CFer, you tell your parents, or just speak up for yourself. Advocacy and really standing up for your child or for your life, even in these little ways like an air filter, is super important. In 1st grade is when I started Toby, and my mom had to talk with the teachers and everyone to get me moved further up, because Toby could, and with me did a little bit, impact my hearing. And so I was moved up to the front of the classroom, and I think this was around the time that they allowed me to have a water bottle at my desk to help with coughing fits. And I was suffering really bad migraines during this time of my life, but still refused to tell a teacher because like didn't think I would be taken seriously, and or I wanted to learn and didn't want to leave. So it was either or. I just didn't want to tell anyone I was sick. I love school. Like I loved school. I was the nerd. Like I could be in the hospital or like green needing to be in the hospital, and I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna go to school today. My body constantly getting sicker and weaker was not going to stop me from going to school. I got so bad, and I guess visibly so sick looking, that one of the girls in my class started speaking up and telling the teacher, like, Miranda's not okay, you need to call her mom. To this day, I'm still really grateful that she did that. I think there were a couple of times that that particular girl did help me that year in very similar ways. She sat, I think it was behind me, or like catty corner to me. And she really was like, Miranda's gonna pass out, we should call her mom, because that's a helpful thing to do. So like, thank you, Hallie. If you are a friend of a CFer in school and they are way too hard on themselves and they're not willing to admit that they're not feeling well, you need to stick up for them. Like, as much as I was a hard-headed child and didn't want to leave, I really needed to. So if you see someone in that situation where they really need to go like to the hospital or like home, tell an adult. And also, like, if you're a patient and you don't trust your own self, because that's probably going to happen, tell your friends, like, hey, if you see me not feel well and I'm not sticking up for myself, like, please do, because sometimes I'm too stubborn and I don't want to make myself worse type deal. I, in hindsight, see that that would have been a good idea for me to do, but I'm lucky that I had friends in school that already had that in them, that they were going to do it for me. So my camera ended up dying, and it's the next day. I kind of mentioned before how in first grade they allowed me to have like a water bottle at my desk for coughing fits. In second and third grade, that kind of evolved into also allowing me to have a snack bar and Kleenex for when I needed to cough up stuff. Basically, by the end of third grade, it looked like I had a pharmacy at my desk with all of the things that I had, except I wasn't allowed to have my medicine. I still had to go to the nurse's office, which is a whole nother thing that I'm gonna get into now. One of the hardest things in school was having to go to the nurse's station. I loved the nurse, she was super nice, but it took out of my lunchtime, like tremendously. Going to get enzymes in the nurse's office, which was literally across from the cafeteria, took out a substantial amount of time out of my eating, and I'm a slow eater anyway. So I would have to leave, they would let me leave like a minute or two before lunch would start so I could try to get a head start of everybody, but if the nurse wasn't in there, or if there was something else going on or someone had to talk to me, I would be in the nurse's office for like half of lunchtime and then have to get back and get my food and get everything sorted, and by the time everything would be done, I would have like 5 minutes to eat. And that's so not enough time for someone that eats as slow as I do, and just for anyone in general. So if any of you guys have any tips on how to deal with enzymes and the whole nurse station situation and lunch and snack time and all of that, let me know in the comments down below, and also leave advice for kids that are still in school. Are they allowing kids to carry the enzymes on them now? That's a good question. And if not, like, we need to figure out some way to make that easier, because it was a real struggle. That was one of the only ones I really dealt with on a daily basis. The only other thing that really impacted my schooling was whenever I would have to go in for tune-ups. I know that my mom did struggle with at least one of the teachers for sure on getting homework for me and schoolwork to try to keep me caught up whenever I would be in the hospital. And I would be in the hospital for a month or so at a time, several times throughout the year. So I was missing a lot of school and really needed to catch up. Luckily, when I was in school, I usually would go ahead in class, so it wouldn't be that much of a catch-up I would have to do. Math was the main subject that I really struggled with trying to catch up, because I always ended up in the hospital during like that winter time of the year, which was when the review from the year before was over and they were teaching like the new things. And I suck at math, and my mom tried to teach me, and it just is a struggle. And I needed it in school, but whenever they were really teaching one-on-one all of these new skills, I was in the hospital and I wasn't able to get that. Looking back on it now, I probably should have gotten a math tutor. I think that's a good tip for any CFers that are out there that are still in school. If you are struggling to catch up, even if you are getting all of your homework and stuff, getting a tutor to help with specific subjects or anything like that would be really useful. If you have a friend that could take notes, or even maybe like voice record a class, or maybe see if you could do a Skype conference with your teacher during the lesson, have a computer there so you can be in the class with everyone else, but while you're in the hospital. I think that would be kind of a more modern day way to keep up with classes. If any of you guys are still in school and you haven't done that, see if that's something that you could set up with your teachers for future admissions, and let me know how that goes if you do it, because I think that would be really cool. It would be a way for you to not it would be a great way for you to not be so far behind if you are one that tends to fall further behind if you're not actually in the class. Bullying was something that I struggled a lot with, almost in like cycles through my schooling life. I would go through times where like there was no bullying, and then I would go through times where it was like really intense bullying. And I ended up being bullied out of school towards the end of 5th grade. And the bullying that I dealt with, especially during that 5th grade year, had nothing to do with my CF per se. I mean, the stuff in 5th grade had to do with the boy asking me out and me saying no, but this girl still being mad that I was asked out by the boy that she liked, and that just erupted into this whole thing. But in 4th grade, I was bullied, I guess, for me having CF. It's the only time that it really sticks in my mind anyway, because it was like insanely traumatic. And I had gotten out of the hospital that day, and it was my birthday, and I was so excited, and I go to school, and the way that it worked out was like I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and school started at the end of August, and my birthday is like the 2nd week of October. So I really didn't have much time with my class that year up until the point that I was in the hospital. And this kid was a new kid in school and didn't know me before this school year. And so whenever I come back to school, we're sitting at lunch, all of my friends, we've all grown up together knowing what I have and dealing with what I have. And they're all asking me questions about the hospital and yada yada. And this kid started to get curious, as one would. But rather than being just a questioning, curious kid like everyone else was, this kid thought violence was the way to go with it, and chose to grab a fork and talk about how I was going to be a science experiment, and jumped across the table to try to stab my eye out. So that was the only bullying I can remember. I don't really know how you deal with the bullying, if there is any, other than tell an adult as soon as anything happens. Make sure that you do stand up for yourself. If you're going through a time in your life where you don't find yourself having many acquaintances or allies in your class or in your school that are kids, find a teacher that you can trust and that you can rely on, and tell them what's going on, and have them also be a lookout for you for all of these things that I've said. You need someone to also keep an eye on you. I don't think CFers always need like these watchdogs on us, but when you're a kid, you're still learning, and you're still learning your body's limits. And when I was younger, I was always one to push myself beyond any limit, which is why my classmates ended up having to start calling me out on it, because I was pushing myself so far, I was killing myself. And so that's why I'm saying, like, just make sure you have people that could also look out for you for the times that you might not be aware of what your limits are yet. And not that we have to live in these boundaries of limits, because I'm always one for pushing limits and boundaries and growing. But just like, you also have to remember you are sick. Being in school can be super dangerous. I was always in the hospital during like the winter time because everyone was sick during the winter time, and I would get what everyone had. And so, you know, you just have to, I know some kids prefer not to tell their schoolmates and everyone what they have because they want to be seen as normal, and that's great. But also, I think it's good for people to have some type of idea, because you don't want your friend that showed up to school with the flu to hug all over you. I think communicating to an extent with the people that you're surrounded with every day, all day, so they're aware if something does happen. I guess just some type of awareness, I guess, with the people that you're involved with every single day, so that one day if something is mentioned, like it was for me that day at lunch, there's not this random kid that just decides whatever the heck that guy decided that day. You know, I think if everyone kind of knows a gist of it, so, but in a way that they don't become scared, you know, like I don't know. That's a whole different video on telling kids in school and how to deal with that. But I do remember with that, there was a teacher that was a family friend that came in and intervened, and thank God for her, because I was a scrawny little 10-year-old and don't know what I would have done. For the most part, it wasn't like that with my classmates. Everyone was able to come together when we needed to, and they would send me cards when I was in the hospital, or if I would be on home IVs, I would go to school for a couple of hours or something to hang out during recess and talk to everybody. So we were able to figure things out and work together and make it normal in a way, so it wasn't so scary for everybody. The only thing left to talk about is whenever I started homeschooling. So I started homeschooling when I was 11 during my, what would have been my 6th grade year, and I kept going until college. And the benefits that I saw in all of that was, one, I loved teaching myself and researching and doing all that anyway. Even though I was in school before, I still did that. Like, I was in school, but I was researching way far ahead, and I was going home and doing my own research on the things I was learning. So me homeschooling was wonderful, and my family and I were able to travel and do all of these things that I never would have been able to do in school. Also, I wasn't around sick kids every single day. I mean, I still had dancing every day, but it wasn't the same as being in school and being surrounded by people constantly for 8-9 hours. And with that, I was able to get healthier because I wasn't constantly sick and in the hospital. And my first year being homeschooled, I went my first year not going in the hospital, which was amazing. And you know, that just, I would still go in for like maybe a year tune-up here or there until I started to push myself too far in dancing, and then that became more frequent. But before that, I was doing so great. I was able to learn at the speed that I wanted to learn and the subjects that I wanted to learn. If I needed to go faster in some but slower in others, I could do that, and it was great. Me having everything with me and me being self-taught, well, my mom would help me, but for the most part self-taught, in my curriculum that I would bring with me and then do whatever, I didn't have the fear of being left behind and could go at the speed that I needed to. Doing schoolwork in the hospital got interesting, and I kind of am now like a self-taught ambidextrous person. When I have an IV in my arm or my hand, like, it's a dead hand. So every time I would end up with a peripheral in my right arm, like, I couldn't use it. So I would have to teach myself how to write and do whatever with my left one. And that was super fun. Also, I loved doing homework when I was doing my vest. I saw it as like this like really amazing challenge. It was really fun to do all of that while I was shaking and doing whatever, and just, I don't know, doing it upside down while I'm being clapped on, or I just like to mix things up sometimes. Altogether, I really didn't have an awful experience in school in regards to my CF, and any problems that did arise, we were able to come together and figure out some type of compromise. So just to kind of summarize everything up, make sure you have some type of advocate to speak along with you, because sometimes your voice alone as a kid can be drowned out really easily. So make sure that you either have another classmate, make sure you have your parents or a teacher or a nurse or an assistant, or just somebody on your side that can look out for you or speak up for you if you need the help. And then on the note of help, like, just remember, it's okay to ask for help when you need it, and it's okay to say when you're not feeling well. That's something that I really wish I could go back and tell myself, but I kind of needed to go through that to learn that for today. Make sure that during cold and flu season, you kind of keep your distance from the kids in your class that are sick, and make sure everyone washes their hands and does everything they need to stay as sanitary as they can. So I want to know if you guys found any of this relatable. If you did, let me know in the comments down below. If you have any tips for kids in school today, or just want to talk about your own experiences in school, let's talk about them. Like this video if you liked it, share it if you found it useful, hit the subscribe button so you can be subscribed to our channel, and the notification bell so you can be notified every time you put up a new video. I'm going to leave my social media accounts as well as the channels in the description down below. And until next time, remember to stay salty.